There we go. All right, there
Okay.
we are.
Yay!
Hey, Kelsey. How are
Hi,
you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Great to see you.
It's so nice to see you. I miss your smiling face.
Oh, that's very sweet of you. I miss your smiling face too. This is the first time I've used this piece of software, so I'm actually pretty impressed that it's worked to this point. I'm not going to count my chickens just yet, but I can see you very clearly on the screen, which is
Cool.
awesome. So why don't you, obviously I could introduce you, but who better to introduce you than yourself? Tell us a little bit about what you do, what you specialize in, and then we'll have a chat about what you've been doing over the last few weeks in this crazy time.
Yeah, sounds good. So I am a naturopathic doctor. I practiced here in Guelph for a really long time before I say really long, 4 years, before I actually took my practice totally virtual prior to COVID. So I had a nice little practice time before
Uh-huh.
life got really crazy. But essentially, my area of expertise is helping women balance their hormones and make babies. I'm the founder of the Fertility Confidence Method, which is my step-by-step system to help women balance their hormones and make babies, either naturally or with reproductive assisted technology. Yeah, I'm also a mom, and they are on another level today.
I
So
saw them this morning on Instagram.
you might be able to hear Nyla crying right now.
So
uh,
Nyla's 1 year old, is that right?
yeah, Nyla will be one
Yeah.
on Sunday, which is
Wow.
crazy.
That's crazy. And Cole's 4, and
Cole's
obviously
almost 4. Yeah.
almost 4, and then you have Tyler at home with you right now, your husband. So it's a busy house, right?
It is a full house. Yeah. So when I started virtual, I was lucky Tyler was still off on parental leave with Nyla. So
Yeah.
it was the three of us home. I still got to take time with her while I worked, but he was home to take care of her. And we still had Cole in daycare full time because he
Right.
loved daycare. So then when all of this hit, and then I was like, oh, it'll be fine. I've already been working from home. My
Yeah.
clients already transitioned into an online model. So I didn't have that like pandemonium of what do I do now? And
Yeah, like everyone else. You were prepared.
exactly. I was well prepared, but I wasn't well prepared for having my toddler at home full time. And
Right.
he's wonderful, but yeah, he's almost 4 and he wants to just play all day. He
Yeah.
doesn't get it, right? So it's been interesting.
Yeah, I can only imagine. And I can imagine you're talking to a lot of busy mums and dads, either single or co-parenting. The same situation. Yeah, you were more prepared than most of us with your going virtual. You were ahead of the curve. Me and Jana were talking to each other, going, "Hey, Kelsey was like, right at the right place at the right time."
Some premonition or
Yeah,
something happened.
yeah. And I was pushing for us to set up an online system for the last year or so, but like we had other fish to fry, right? There was no rush, so we did the whole scramble like everyone else. But yeah, like, how do you manage your client work? Obviously, your business work. Running a business is a full-time job,
Yeah.
and managing your family, like looking after the kids, looking after your husband and each other. How does that work? Have you got a system? Do you have any advice that you can give any busy mums and dads, any people running their businesses from home for the first time?
Yeah. I honestly think the best piece of advice I can give, I actually just sort of came to terms with last week, because as this has gone on, I think we've all kind of expected it to get easier, but it's actually gotten harder. And because it's like, when is this going to end? When are we going to go back to some sort of normalcy? And so last week, I finally kind of sat down with myself and just told myself the truth that I'm an ambitious woman. I love my job. I love my business. I love running my business. But and though I'm used to being able to give like 150% in my business in this season of life, I just can't do that right now. And that's okay. And it's been hard to adjust my expectations of how much work do I usually get done in a week, even with the baby home.
Yeah.
And now saying, okay, you know what? I have to be more mom than more businesswoman right now, because Cole's home 24/7. And
Right.
before, he was only home on the weekends and in the mornings and in the evenings. And that was it. So I had a pretty normal work schedule. And yes, I'm, very lucky that Tyler is still home, but he actually goes back to work on Monday. And then we're 2 full-time working
Wow.
parents. He is luckily going to still be home working, but he hasn't been at work in 6 months. We have no idea what he's walking into. And I've still been trying to work like a 40 to 60 hour work week. And so with that coming, I was like, you know what? I just have to be okay with the fact right now that I can't give 150% in my business.
Yep.
And that's okay. That's not going to set me back. It's not a step backwards. It's simply just a season of life we're all in right now, especially as parents, but even people without kids, like trying to navigate what this looks like for them moving forward. And we adjust. And I think that instead of fighting it, we just have to accept that that's the case right now. And it's okay. And the days can still be hard. Like I said, they've been crazy today, and it's really hard for me to be down here when they're crying and screaming, and I just want to go up and help because usually I can, calm them down. But I also try to maintain some sort of boundary a little bit when I'm trying to get work done. But you're distracted and your brain isn't totally in it. You're not as creative when you're pulled in all these different directions. So I think, setting up the boundaries, reducing that time a little bit, knowing like this isn't going to get done, and that's okay because I have to make food. I have to clean up. I have to do laundry. I have to do all these things to keep my house running, to keep my kids somewhat happy. And someone said something to me yesterday that I was like, oh my gosh, yes. And my business coach actually just basically said, I don't want to come out of COVID and have my kids say, oh, it sucked. My mom worked the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, yeah, wow. That really hit home for me. Nyla doesn't know any different, but Cole does. And so I really just kind of sat with that yesterday and last night. And I was like, you know what? I need to just let this go a little bit. Take this time, to spend with him and see the silver lining in the situation that he is home. But it's hard if you're a business owner and you've been at this for even a month, like you're in it. And so you want to just continue being in your business, and pivoting isn't always the easiest pill to swallow.
I think, yeah, absolutely. Like, I can't even imagine, right? I can't even imagine, like, we feel distracted here, and we got 2 cats, and I'm not saying they're distracting, but I'm just saying, like, there's so much going on in the world, and there's so many unclosed loops in our brains that we can't be the most productive, right? And I think you touched on it, and I think a lot of women, especially, I'm not just saying women, but like we are talking about you. That are business women, that are focused on their roles and their jobs, they're also really good mums, right? And so it's like that balance is like, I feel bad because I want to dedicate time to my business, but I also, like, I've got my kids at home, and if you look at the way you were talking, is like I might not have this time. I won't get this time back with them, right? You've got all this time with them at home, so that you're being split in two, right? As a business owner, you're focused, right? Right, totally focused, and like we're the same, we're driven, we're always thinking about the next thing. How do we evolve? How do we keep moving forward, especially in this time? But also, like not leaving your kids behind, and making sure that you're able to look after them as well. So it's a real dilemma for a lot of parents, but a lot of mums in particular who run their own businesses or just have a role to play right now. Is there any I mean, obviously you're working with clients online, which is awesome. Is it right to say you said you specialize in women's health, right? Like Jana made a funny comment to me. She's like, talk to Kelsey about what you're going to do in the next little while, if we're going to have a baby, or what's going to happen. So, but like, are you finding that people are still reaching out to you? What services are you able to provide to people right now in this situation, and what is it that people are reaching out to you for?
Yeah, good question. So I didn't know how this month was going to pan out, to be perfectly honest with you. But like I said, my core private practice clients who were with me in the clinic and who see me privately one-on-one, they were already used to this setup. So for the most part, it was business as usual for me. However, I did find a lot less new bookings. And I think honestly, a lot of that came from people just being scared of like, what they don't know what's going on. We're all of a sudden not thinking about ourselves and our health because we're so concerned with the rest of the world. Even though this is, a virus, that our health should be top priority to make sure that we're maintaining that and staying well. But it's hard, and it almost feels more selfish, I think, for some people to think about me and how my body is feeling when there's so much sadness and loss and grief and devastation going on right now. So with that being said, though, I'm very grateful that I was able to launch my program, the Fertility Confidence Method, before all of this happened. And it has been my main focus in getting this methodology into the hands of as many women as I can to help as many couples as I can make babies. And I wasn't sure how it was going to go this month. And I think there's this line of some people who've lost their jobs and like they just don't have the money to invest in themselves and in their health, and that's okay. So I've found creative ways to extend payment plans and help structure some sort of like savings routine for what they do have so that we can eventually work together. And then there's this other group of women that are taking this time as an opportunity of, I just gained hours in the day because I'm not commuting or I'm not at work. I'm going to take care of myself right now, and I'm going to use this time productively. And so I've actually been very fortunate to have had a very great month in my business because I have this other option to extend to people with payment structures and creativity and self-study options, one-to-one options, and kind of make it work for whatever they're looking for.
Right.
So yeah, does that answer your question? I don't even
know. Absolutely. I think what you did was like you said, that we've all had to adapt, right? And try and help people. And like in this situation, like people's health and well-being is so important during this time. Like you said, like there's, obviously your immune system is super important in this moment in time. Our mental health, especially being isolated. You're talking specifically about people trying to get pregnant. Me and Jana were joking that this is a time where people are together, so there's more opportunity to invest time in making a baby, right? Invest time, and if people need help, which is normal, like there's situations where people need help with that for lots of different reasons, which you'd be better at talking on than me. Then this would be the time to do it, right? Like I think, like literally the time to do it.
The one big thing that I'm seeing and talking to a lot of women this month especially are the couples that have been trying for 8, 10, 12 months, who have been entering the fertility clinic stage, are in the fertility clinic stage, are trying to get testing and answers, and COVID has literally just went no more. Sorry, clinics are closed, can't get labs done, can't do imaging. Just wait. And there's no sort of end in sight. Lots of clinics aren't even rebooking appointments yet because we just don't know when we're going to get the green light from for other non-essential medical professionals to actually open their doors again. And that's scary for a lot of these couples who've been waiting, maybe a year or more to have a baby. And now they're just being told like, sorry, keep waiting. And the stuff that I do with my couples and inside the Fertility Confidence Method, it's not talked about often in the doctor's office. They don't talk about nutrition and lifestyle and all of the fabulous things you can do for your body while you quote unquote wait, or before you even get to that stage in your journey. And so this is really actually opening a lot of opportunity for me to say, hey, I'm here. This is what we can do while you're waiting. Because you don't have to be idle. You don't have to just sit and wait. There's so much you can do right now in terms of helping your hormones and your fertility.
I think that's awesome. I think you touched on it, right? And there's no judgment here. I think you either go one or two ways, right? And I think we've all gone one or both ways. And depending on what the situation is, that is like all bets are off. Generally, it's just a bad day. I'm not going to train today. I'm going to focus on my nutrition. I'm going to eat whatever I need. I'm going to do whatever I need for my mental health. Lots of people are still down that rabbit hole right now because it has been a shock. But like the other flip side of it is we have an opportunity here to put some great foundation down, to work on our health, to work on our lifestyle, to create better habits and routines, whether it is in order to get pregnant or just to have a really good base and continually work on our physical and mental health during this time of isolation and be the better versions of ourselves. There's no judgment. Like I'm sure like you, me, Jana, everyone, we've all had our bad days during this period.
I just carb loaded the hell out of my kids. They're both going to go in about
That's
an
amazing.
hour, and Tyler's going to have to clean up that mess.
Yeah, well, that's teamwork for you.
Yeah.
Remind me what Tyler does. Sorry, I should know,
Yeah,
but I've totally forgotten.
that's okay. Tyler actually works for the enemy.
He works at the end.
Tyler works for Johnson and Johnson.
Oh, the enemy.
So
That's right. I remember now.
He's in compliance.
Right.
Honestly, that's about all I know. He can probably hear me. I'm sure he's laughing. And
It's all good. I just wanted to give you, like, we've spoken about your kids, we've spoken about what you do, and I know Tyler, but I totally forgot that he worked for them, and now I remember. So we've spoken about your online business. We've spoken about juggling kids. We've spoken about some like negative things that have been happening. What about, is there anything else that's positive that you've seen? Anything that you've any things that have happened with your clients that you've noticed during this time? Because there's a lot of negativity around us, but like sharing strategies and stories that are positive is super important during this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, I think like going back to what we just chatted about, I think we have to find, especially as people in the health space, find this fine line of accepting negative emotions and accepting falling off the wagon, so to speak. And also the other extreme of that, of being like, you have all this time, you should be bettering yourself, you should be doing all these things, and figure out what the middle ground is of that, of like, yeah, it's okay to feel like junk once in a while. That's fine. And we have to be accepting of those emotions in order to process them. And we also don't want to be putting pressure on our clients and the people that we work with that they should be, leveling up 10 times faster because now we have the time. It's this like elusive time that we've all wanted our whole lives. And now the universe is like, here it is. And we don't want to put pressure on ourselves, right? To come out of this as better people. We can come out of this the exact same, and that's completely fine. So I think the biggest thing in terms of positivity is to almost let go of needing to be positive, honestly, and just accept how things come. I think it's good and beneficial sometimes to sit in negative emotion a little bit, because if we continue to push it down and depress those feelings, we're not doing our bodies mentally or physically any good in those situations. So we don't want to push people to say like, yeah, you should be doing all these things because look at all the extra time you have. But we also don't want to let people kind of grieve and wallow. So we have to find this weird middle ground. And I think with that comes just, like I said before, accepting the fact, especially if other business owners and entrepreneurs out there, obviously I'm in a very grateful position that I don't have a physical location that I'm paying for, while I'm working from home. I know it's hard, and it's been so heartbreaking for me to see friends and colleagues having to close their clinics and losing their businesses right now. And it's, only going to get worse, I think. So I think really just trying to be a little bit more mindful with how you're treating yourself, and take a step back if you need to, and be okay with that, because we can't be 100% in all areas of our lives. I can't be 100% mom and 100% business owner. I don't have 200%. I have 10 energy credits when I wake up in the morning. That's how I explain it to my family. I have 10 things. I have to reserve some of that for my clients, especially if it's a client day or a call day. And I have to reserve some of that for my kids. And then some days I'm left with nothing personally. And I try not to let that happen, but it does. And some days I'm left with extra. And so you just have to be very strategic with where you spend that energy, I think. And coming in with that is trying to prioritize you, even though it feels scary and overwhelming right now to prioritize you. And, I've been sticking with my fitness routine as much as I can, because thank God you guys are providing me with that. And food, and we're trying to keep our house life as business as usual as we can, especially for the kids, especially for Cole. The first 4 weeks, he asked us every day if he could go to daycare, every single day, every morning. Are the germs gone, Mommy? Can I go to daycare? I miss my friends. And it was heartbreaking. And now it's even more heartbreaking because he stopped asking, because now this is just normal. This is just life for him now. He's home with Mommy and Daddy every day. And though it's nice to not have to continually explain to him what's going on in a way that he'll understand, but it's also even more sad because he's obviously like given up. that he's going to be able to
Yeah.
go back. So it's all about kindness to yourself, really, at the end of the day.
That's tough. It's tough for the kids. Definitely tough for Carl in that situation. Yeah, no, I think that's really, really great advice. I think what you touched on a few things there, which are like, it's like a shift, right? We sort of can't be everything that we want to be in a normal situation, because this isn't a normal situation.
Yeah.
Giving yourself the space to have a bad day, I think very, very important to reflect on negativity, not suppress it, like you said, and acknowledge it exists. I mean, I've sort of lived with depression all my life and overcome it in a way. So like, I remember when I first got through depression, when I first started to feel negative thoughts again, I honestly was so scared. Like I would try and push them away, and I was like, oh my God, I'm getting depressed again. See, now it's something that I've realized that I have to accept. I have to really feel it, really understand it, and then I can put it aside and I can move forward from it.
Yeah.
The same thing about like nutrition and training. If you wake up one day and you're like, you know what, I was meant to train today, but I'm not going to, reschedule it for another day. Give yourself that break, right? Give yourself the mental health break you need. Do the thing that you need to do in order to be able to get through that moment. But also, as you said, be kind to yourself. So drinking and eating bad food all day long and sitting and not looking after your health, your physical health, isn't being kind to yourself either. So find that balance, right? And I think structure and routine, new structure and routine, which is something you touched on, super important, especially when you're managing and juggling a number of different roles like you are right now, right?
It's so true. And I think the structure is important for the kids as well. Like Cole's used to daycare, and I know they have some sort of structure there. And we tried in the beginning. I was like, okay, Cole, sit down and like, let's do these, tracing pages. And it just didn't work for him. And we've had to adapt with that as well. Like we've had to adapt as parents during all this too. And, next month is going to bring a whole nother world of adapting, and not every day is going to be the same. So you can feel all these feels and do all these different things, and every day is going to be different. And I think that's scary for some people. I'm used to it at this point, that, being a young mom, a business, like I started my business and I had Cole within 2 months of each other. So I've been juggling, for 4 years. And so all of the pivoting is this is just normal life for me, but it's not for a lot of other people.
No. I mean, like, it is. As entrepreneurs, I suppose we experience those wow moments and those oh shit moments more often than, I'm not going to say that like other people, but like there are a lot more of those moments. And it's because like you literally having to adapt to situations, you're learning the hard way. So I suppose we might be more prepared to deal with constant shifts. But this is a shift that no one ever predicted. So it's a very, very different shift. But yeah, like adapting is the key, right? And trying something, if it doesn't work, try something else, right? Like you're parenting from home, you're schooling from home, you're working. So like, I'm sure you've tried a bunch of things. You're like, oh, that didn't work. Go try something else tomorrow. To motivate your children, to motivate your husband, to give each other space. Talking of space, how are you doing with that? Are you able to give each other some, you talk about your own time. Like, are you getting some of that yourself?
No. And that's okay right now. This is something we actually talked about not that long ago, but I was like, Tyler and I are because he's been home since November, we're just used to being around, and I've been working from home since December. So we're used to being around each other all day, and I'm in the basement and he's upstairs. So there might be an 8-hour span in the day that I've maybe seen him for 15 minutes. Wow. If we were in like a small place together, kind of stuck together where there's nowhere for us to take our individual time, that might be very different. And if that's the case for people listening, go out for a walk. Like, you guys need physical distance from each other once in a while, and that's healthy. Like, that's very not healthy. And this is going to make me sound horrible, but we are very much missing our grandparents right now to give us a bit of a break, as a couple, right? Like, we haven't had any time away from the kids actually since before this even started. So we haven't seen, probably since Christmas. We've had the kids 24/7. I mean, granted with daycare, but like we haven't had sleepovers with our grandparents or anything like that. So that's hard. And, we don't know when that's going to happen again, because we don't know when the physical distancing is going to get lifted. So I think that will be the first thing.
Yeah, no doubt. And also they're missing them as well.
And yeah, like, it is killing my parents, and I'm sure my in-laws as well, even though they live a bit further, so they're used to not seeing them as much. My parents usually see the kids once a month.
Right.
My mom especially, and I know it's just like gutting her completely to not be able to actually like be with them, which is hard.
Tough.
But really I think, from a physical, you need to take some space alone. And so if you can't get that, if you're in an apartment or a condo or somewhere where you don't have any sort of physical separation, then get outside, go for a drive, go for a walk. But you need to take some time alone. And especially if you are a mom, you need to leave the kids and take some time by yourself. That's not just that wonderful nighttime time. Like, you need some daytime where you don't feel exhausted and you just have time to just clear your head. And this all comes back to that prioritizing part, where it's hard to prioritize ourselves, especially as a mom. It's hard. It feels very selfish, but we need to take that time, especially in times like this, because it becomes 10 times harder when you are constantly parenting all the time. You need to take a break from your kids and from your partner. And that's not a bad thing. That's healthy.
I can imagine there's an element of guilt that's attached to that, which there shouldn't be. I totally get the paradigm, right? You know, you need time to be the best version of yourself, to be the best version of mum and business owner. Yeah. But I also understand that might be really hard for somebody. Hey, Will, just want to say hi to Will. How you doing, mate? Thanks for watching. It must be very hard for a mum in particular to take that time during the day when you know, the kid's always going to want to be around you, right? Always going to need something, but taking something for yourself is so important. Okay, so like, we've spoken about some strategies. Like we mentioned stress and anxiety. Now, obviously, everyone's stress and anxiety, including mine and yours, I'm sure, is probably more elevated than usual. What are the 3 most important things that you can suggest, strategies that you can suggest to somebody who might be feeling anxious, stressed at this time, busy like yourself, like me, can do on a daily basis in order to relieve that stress and sort of reduce that anxiety?
Yeah, breathing exercises, first and foremost. So there's a few apps I like. One of them is called Breathe Plus. And it's just like a setting timer. You breathe with the beautiful colors and the beautiful music. 60 seconds to 90 seconds, like a minute to a minute and a half, is all you need to activate that parasympathetic nervous system, to bring that cortisol down. You don't need to sit and meditate for an hour to get benefit from these things. It can be as simple as a minute or two, a couple of times a day. I usually like to say morning and night to just kind of help you start your day, help you end your day. And those are free. Calm is another app you can download that also has a breathing exercises and some free meditations, guided meditations that are really nice. Exercise is a huge one for me personally, especially, but also for a lot of my clients. And if that doesn't look like continuing to do virtual classes or whatever that is, or if you haven't had an exercise routine beforehand, like, I highly recommend reaching out to Jon and Jana, because what they've set up is fantastic. But you can just go for a walk. You know, it doesn't have to be this huge event. It can literally just be a walk around the block. You know, the weather is like hopefully starting to get nicer, and that in itself is going to help if we can just get some damn sunshine over here. Like, this is driving me insane. So those are the 2. And then the third one, honestly, is to prioritize your sleep right now. Maybe I should say food, but sleep is probably more important from a stress perspective for me. And I think some of us might have fallen into this bad habit of staying up a bit later than we're used to, not maintaining our usual sleep habits or patterns. And it's hard on our body. It's hard on our hormones, and it's hard on our cortisol, which is our stress hormone, if we're sleep deprived. And as a mom of kids who don't sleep, like, that adds up over time, and you don't want to come out of this in a sleep deprived state. And making sure you're giving your body the required rest it needs at night is only going to set you up for success the next day. And the less you sleep, the more likely you are going to start to feel anxious and stressed, and your immune system needs you to sleep as well. So there's so many benefits from that. And I mean, it's getting, it's lighter out at night. So I know it's hard, especially to get the kids to bed earlier and things like that. But
That's awesome advice. Yeah, that's awesome advice. So basically, move more. Doesn't matter if you're training with us or not, but obviously we can help you out and we can find a way, then a solution that works for you. As well as Kelsey can do the same as well. Like she said, she can work with you on a plan. But get out there for walks, get some natural sunlight. This is a great opportunity to sleep. I've been sleeping more, but getting into that regular routine, I think, is important because there's one night I stay up late and then I'm out of sync. I find I work better if I'm sleeping the same amount of hours and I'm getting up at the same time every morning. Whereas if I'm changing it, like you said, it messes up with my system. You know better what's happening, but like, and so we said sleep, we said moving, we said
breathing.
Breathing, very important. Yeah, it's funny that you said that because I learned to meditate in Thailand years ago. Haven't really been practicing it. It was so helpful for me. Just started a class on Wednesday mornings at 6:15 tomorrow. Starting, it's a mindful class. It's 30 minutes. People can just check in. There's an accountability aspect. I'm not leading. I'm not a guru in meditation, but I'm going to use the Wim Hof method tomorrow. And I'm just going to put an app on. We're going to put it on, and whoever wants to like breathe with me, they can. If they want to turn their camera on, off, they can. And it's just an accountability session for people to start to concentrate on breathing because it's so important. You're right.
Absolutely. That's amazing.
Well, listen, I know your time is very valuable, so I won't take up too much more of your time. Listen, I really appreciate you coming on and talking to us. I'll put this back up on live. I'll send you a recording of this. And more people tend to watch this in the evenings, but like really appreciate you. You're a good friend. We work very closely with you. So if there's anything that we can do to help you and the family, you let us know. I'm going to, if you want to post, you have a wonderful Facebook group for women who are trying to get pregnant and basically women who need help with their health in general, right? So once I post this up, if you want to post the link in the comments so people can find you, that would be awesome. Okay.
Thank you, Jon. I appreciate it.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much, darling.
Bye.
Bye.